Good morning, everyone. This is All Things Books and Publishing. We are live on our Off the Chain Facebook page and on YouTube. I am one of your hosts, Yvonne Mason, the owner, CEO, dishwasher, shoulder holder, whatever, for Midnight Publishing. My wonderful other half is Mary Brotherton, who I've known for over 20 years at least. She is an author with Midnight Publishing. She is unique in her own way. And today, our guest is my friend Chris Dunham, who I've known for at least 15 years, because we all share the same love of the craft. He writes under C.R. Dunham, and his debut novel, Right This Way, will kick you in the teeth and make you think about immortality in a different way. So, welcome, Chris.
I was going to say I'm just the homeless guy they promised coffee and a bagel to.
And he's also got a dry wit. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our show today. As you all know, once this show is finished, it goes up on Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Apple, Mixcloud, Substack. There's a whole bunch of places it goes up, so it's available everywhere. I want Chris to tell you about his journey, how he got here, why he finally gave in and gave us his book, and what made him write Right This Way. The floor is yours, my friend.
Well, why I finally gave in and gave the book up is because I was frustrated with the process of trying to format and get everything together myself. I also had a little birdie in my ear telling me that if I didn't, she was going to kick my butt. Also, I typically will cuss like a sailor, so if one or two of them slip out, I do apologize. I'm going to do my best to watch my language. But it is really...
I don't.
She does.
I try to look at like things like this in a more professional standard, and like I know that not everybody likes someone who swears, like especially when it comes to like readers and whatnot. Like, they can be finicky at times, so you know.
But yet they'll read every steamy scene without blinking.
But it's not audibly heard. Unless, of course, they're listening to an audiobook. But others can't hear you listening to smut.
That's right.
But no, so I kind of was just like, you know what? Screw it. I don't have anything to lose. Right? I've already written it. I've let several people that I'm friends with that are authors read it, and they all told me the exact same thing, that if I don't publish this, I'm stupid. So after about 2 years of beating my head against the wall trying to do it myself, I knew Yvonne had Midnight Publishing, and I was like, all right, here, see what you can do with it. One of the big things that,
doesn't it, Yvonne?
Exactly.
One of the big things that Yvonne, told me is that I needed to trust the process, and I hate to tell y'all, I don't have any great insights about trusting the process because I have no expectations. Like, I literally handed this over and was like, okay, well, let's see what happens. Like, I have no delusions that I'm going to wake up tomorrow and be a world-renowned author. I have no delusions that I'm going to be able to retire in 6 months off the sales of this book. This is just, hey, I did this thing, you might dig this thing, and we'll see what happens from there.
And Chris knows and Mary knows, what I tell every author is if you come into this business thinking that you're going to make millions of dollars worth of sales, then get another craft. Because it's not going to happen. If you come into this business understanding that our authors are successful with one book at a time, one sale at a time. I don't care if Chris sells one book this month and one book next month. He is a successful author because A, he came on board, B, he said, here it is, take it and run with it, and C, he trusted us to get it up there for him.
Well, and the other thing that people need to realize is that those New York Times bestseller lists and stuff like that, they're all fake. It's
Exactly.
not real. It's the publisher buying all of those copies of those books to push them up the rankings. It's artificial. It's inflated.
We've had
90% of
conversations about that.
Yeah, 90% of the things that we hold so dear, like your Hollywood Walk of Fames, your New York Times bestsellers, things like that, it's fake. It's manufactured to make you think that somebody is vastly important. Like the Hollywood Walk of Fame stuff, those stars, they pay for them.
Yes, they
What
do.
do they do?
They're not, it's not like, oh, you're a great celebrity, here's your star. No, it's like, hey, I've made enough money and I haven't gotten enough attention this month. I'm going to buy a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
And how many books have we seen that have all these accolades and awards? I actually used to work in a newspaper that was very well known in their niche. And every year she would get more and more awards. And one year she had me help her apply for, I think, 30 different awards, and she won about 28 of them because she paid for every single one. You pay a flat fee, and sometimes it's as little as, $25, but most of the time it's like 100, 200, or 500. And then you pay for each additional award you apply for also. And I think that year she spent more than $5,000
Well,
because
and
she wanted to get every award possible.
there's the things like the Webbies or the Streamies or things like that. You pay to be nominated for those. You
Yes, you do.
pay to have that slot. You like I hate it. I hate how manufactured it is. I'd rather have 5 genuine sales than 500 that somebody else like pushed to inflate.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we preach every single day. Now, some of you may say, but how did you get global? How did you go international? How are you making sales internationally? Let me tell you how.
Ever heard of a little thing called the internet?
Bingo. We have a website. We have 48 countries that monitor that website. 48. We have 4 million plus views on YouTube. Now we're on the YouTube TV. That's international. We are on every social media I can get my creepy little hands on, and when a new one comes out, I go look for it. Chris will tell you, he's been in radio and voiceovers for a long time. The internet is your friend. So when you tell me, well, no, honey, we've had authors in December sell internationally. We've had authors in January sell international. You can't always get our print books international, but you can always get our Kindles and our Audibles.
I'm going to refine that real quick. The internet is not necessarily your friend, but it is a tool that once you learn how to use can be the most deadly tool in your arsenal.
Amen. I make it my friend because I know how to tool it.
There's a lot of weirdos on the internet. It is not my friend.
Have you met me?
You're the acceptable weirdos. There's like the weirdos that you're like, let's have pizza and beer with, and then there's the weirdos that are like, you need to stay over there.
That is true.
Chris, I met my husband on the internet back in 1998.
He was a weirdo, wasn't he?
He is a weirdo, as am I. But it was so funny because we talked and chatted, and eventually we started talking on the phone. And my son, Aaron, he actually, when I left his dad, he came with me. He was a teenager. And I remember telling him, that guy that I've been talking to down in Florida wants to meet me for lunch. And Matt said, you should go. I watch how you light up when you talk to him. I'm like, oh no, you don't go around talking to people, meeting people you talk to on the internet. And, like teenagers do, he had a little bit of wisdom. He said, Mom, you're right. There's people like you out there. Duh. How could I not go meet this guy?
One of my favorite things that I came upon the realization is everything I was told as a child turned out to be how society runs. One, don't talk to strangers. Well, we talk to strangers every day.
We,
Uh, don't accept rides from strangers. Well, Uber, Lyft, things like that. So, like everything I was told as a child, I have to do now as an adult, and I'm like, I don't, I don't know if they were right or this is right or somebody's wrong. I don't know. I need to go down the street. Can you take me there and please don't hurt me.
don't take me off into the wild blue yonder in the process.
Yeah.
So let's talk about who C.R. Dunham is. I know who he is, but how did you get from there to here?
I'm not entirely sure I understand the question. There's no difference between me and C.R. Dunham. Like it's my first and my middle initial.
No. I'm talking about your journey
As a writer.
as a writer, as a voiceover, that journey.
I've always been a writer. I have hundreds and hundreds of unpublished short stories from when I was a kid. I have.
Ooh, let's put them together.
No, they're terrible.
Rewrite
No,
them,
they're not.
rework them.
The problem with that is I was in a mindset when I wrote those that I'm not in the same mindset for, and I feel that they would lose the same weight and same value
Yeah.
that I was trying to attain at that point. Plus, there's a few of them that were written that if I were to try to go back and rewrite, like I wrote a couple of children's stories, it would be very painful because they were written for somebody specific who is no longer in my life.
And that makes sense.
I understand that.
So we let the past be the past and we write new. And there are elements from those old stories that get brought into new stories
Are you
and
working on
carried
something
over.
new?
I am.
Good.
Yeah. That's so all right. So Right This Way is actually the middle story. There is one that comes before it that is a short story that's already published on Amazon. It is called A Good and Just Man. It is where the character of Levi was first introduced. And then there is a third one, and we'll see if there's any room in the universe left, or if even the universe exists when I'm done with the third one.
It will. I have faith. And what, ladies and gentlemen, when Chris is talking about the prequel, and at the end of Right This Way is a QR code. And if you scan that QR code, it will take you to the prequel.
Yeah, the short story, which is only available as an e-reader. So it didn't have very many pages. It literally is a very short story. But I enjoyed the world that I built. And as I was writing the short story and I had created the character of Levi, I realized I really liked Levi. And I wanted to carry him over. I feel so the whole idea behind A Good and Just Man. Have you guys seen The Usual Suspects?
Yes.
Okay. Kaiser Soze, at the beginning of the movie, he says, the greatest trick the devil ever played was getting us to believe that he didn't exist. I took that line and flipped it, and that is the premise of A Good and Just Man. It is the greatest trick the devil ever played is getting us to believe God ever existed.
Ooh.
And if you read A Good and Just Man and then carry over into Right This Way, you get an entire picture of what the universe is actually like, at least according to me.
And what also is in this book that, because I find nuggets that sometimes people don't realize they have put in their books, is the character, the main character, has to come to terms with certain decisions he made. Even when he's made an offer, he almost can't refuse.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to decide what is the best, not just for him, but for the people that he has come to love and cherish and protect.
Now, Yvonne, I know you've read it. Which character is me?
I would say the one that's always in conflict with himself.
Which is Horace?
Yes.
You are wrong.
Why do you say that?
Artemis is me. Artemis is a muse who got tired of creating for everyone else and wanted to create something for themselves and was told that that was wrong.
Artemis is a very complex character because Artemis doesn't always let his feelings show.
Their feelings. As a muse, they would be technically genderless, because they are a being of creativity.
And when they do let their feelings show, sometimes it's not the feeling they always want to emote. It's completely opposite, because sometimes it's a defense mechanism.
Artemis is me. That is the character that was based off of the internal workings. So if you ask why I wrote it, read the book and pay attention to Artemis, because that's what it is. It is a muse that got tired of creating for others and wanted to create something for themselves and was told they were wrong for it.
And that brings me, did you watch the live this morning?
No, because I've been job hunting. So
Okay. On the live this morning, what I talked about, and see, ladies and gentlemen, this publishing house is God-driven. I had no intentions of ever doing this. I was just going to...
And you let a heathen like me in?
Of course. You're teachable. That being said, this morning, the live was about making one goal, reaching for that goal, and above all, finding your true north and your true self and living your true self, regardless of what other people think or feel. And that's what Chris is talking about with Artemis, is in himself in some way, is that he wanted to live his true self, tried to live his true self, but was told it was wrong to live his true self. Therefore, he was miserable. Can't do that. Because if you don't love yourself, as RuPaul says, how you going to love somebody else? You're not.
And that's all Artemis is trying to do, is love themselves.
Exactly.
Is, they understand that they have a role in the great fabric of everything to play, but they also feel that they should have the right to be able to create and keep things for themselves.
You just put that nail in that I was talking about this morning. So I hope, my dear friend, that in writing Artemis and seeing all that and bringing Artemis to life, that you no longer allow other people to define who you are.
Not so much, no. I will say this, though, being that the publishing house is God-driven, I do want to give a fair warning. My stories do border thumbing their nose at religion, but they try to do so in a respectful way. We're talking about fantasy and fiction, which means that the realm of anything is possible. If you read the story and you are offended, I did my job. But my job is not to offend you. My job is to get you to feel.
And
that
see,
is it.
I was not offended with the book. I understood the story. I understood it perfectly, because we as humans have those inner turmoils within ourselves all the time. And we have to draw our own conclusions based on the decisions that we make. And just because the publishing house is God-driven, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to publish a worthwhile book. Because like Chris, I want you, when you write this way, to read it with an open mind, because there are life's lessons in there. It's fiction. It's beautifully written. It takes you in a direction you didn't even think you were going to go. But it will make you stop and think after you've turned that last page and you go, huh, that wasn't what I was expecting, but it makes sense.
Yeah, I wanted the book to actually be longer. I was hoping to be able to write an actual novel length rather than a novella. But the problem I ended up with is I got to the end of the story and I started to go back and I'm like, well, I could expand this, but it would feel like it's dragging, or I could add this in, but it would feel too much like I'm trying to pad. And I got to the point where I was like, I'm just gonna leave it alone, leave it the way it is. Anything that I missed, I can always like put in the next one,
Yes.
in a flashback scene, or repurpose the scene and bring it over into that one. So the next one is actually titled The Cryptid Council. You end up finding out because they're introduced in Right This Way. Um, you're going to end up finding out the history, why they were established, why Bigfoot and all those other cryptids are so elusive. And you actually will end up finding out more about Artemis's exile as well.
I want to say something about the God driven company. The fact that Midnight Publishing is God driven does not mean that it is a fundamental religious organization.
Because religion is a theology.
That when we say that we are a God driven organization, it just means this is Yvonne and my way of giving and serving. Because I, like Yvonne, believe that we're called to serve. That doesn't mean you have to join a monastery or a nunnery or go to church every time the door is open. It means that you do the right thing to everybody. And you just practice kindness and you do what you can to pay it back or give it back. Pay back
Pay it
and
forward. Pay it
pay
forward.
it forward and give it back, whatever.
Pay it forward and throw it back.
Because Yvonne and I both have had so many people that have helped us along our life path that we want to do whatever we can with what time we have left on this earth. And for me, Chris, time is so much more precious than it was in the middle of December. I had a widowmaker heart attack. And so I'm very mindful that nothing's promised. So I'm trying to do what I can to help other people.
I think the
And
reason
that's
why
what we mean when we say God driven.
I think the reason that I wanted to preface is I let a few of my friends who are very religious, very, God centered themselves read it, read the short story. And because I am basically throwing out the convention and making it look like God was just an impotent child and the devil, Levi, you know, through him and has been in charge of everything forever. They thought that that was blasphemous and that I was, slandering God's name and all this stuff. And I was like, that's not what I'm trying to do. That's not. I'm sorry you're offended. So when Yvonne said it's a God-driven company, the warning label came out as like, look, understand, I'm a heathen. I don't believe. I look at everything as a lesson in life, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a religious lesson. It's just we're given opportunities to learn.
Absolutely.
And how we react to those lessons dictates the benefit and outcome that we have from them.
Something that you just said, because whether or not you realized what you said, it serves to solidify what I just said about the book. Chris just said that he turned God and the devil on its head, that God allowed the devil to overthrow him, or the devil overthrew God. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in real life, that is what happens. God allows the devil to do what the devil does because, number one, we have free will. And the devil will use that. So, read this book with an open mind. I was not offended. I loved the book. I absolutely loved it. Because it puts the spiritual realm on a human level, if that makes any sense. You've got a man who says, why am I still here? What am I doing here? What is my purpose? And I really want to live forever because I don't know what's after death. He gets that opportunity with conditions. Then he has to make decisions based on that decision and the consequences of said decisions. And there's always an internal battle going within. Then he has all these other entities around him that also have to make decisions based on circumstances and the consequences of those decisions. So there's multiple layers in this book, and you just peel them back one by one by one. So Chris never apologized for writing that book. I don't care who reads it. Don't apologize.
I had a friend who was reading it and messaged me and was trying to get answers. And I was like, where are you? What chapter are you on? And they told me. And one of the questions that I was like, you're just going to have to keep reading to figure it out from there. And he was like, okay, well, I want to ask you this. Horus controls the carnival, right? And all I said was, does he?
There you go, see?
And he was like, well, that's what I'm asking. And I was like, so am I. Does he?
I love it. So, you've been a voiceover, you've been in radio. What made you start that?
I don't know. We've had this conversation before, long ago. I had two career paths that interested me when I was younger. I either wanted to be a mortician or I wanted to be in radio. I either wanted to deal with none of the people or all of the people. And unfortunately, that's pretty much been my life. It's very black and white. There's very little middle ground. It's either all or nothing. And I got the opportunity to get into radio in like 2007, back before anybody knew what the hell a podcast actually was. And I don't know, I just took the ball and ran with it. Like, opportunity presented itself, and I was just kind of like, screw it, let's try this. And here and there, over the course of like 15 or more years, it grew, and then it stopped growing and it got stagnant, and then life got in the way, and then, the market became too oversaturated, and it was just really hard to find a niche anymore. And then, of course, you had celebrities who were just dumping money into it to be successful, much like those New York Times bestsellers and the Hollywood Walk of Fame. They just pay their way to the top, and it stopped being fun anymore. And then the stuff that I wanted to actually talk about, instead of like the normal dick and fart joke stuff, started to become weightier and heavier, and like it really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, because I was talking about political and social issues, and I was putting the blame squarely where it belonged, which is on us. We, the people, have screwed up this society. We, the people, have messed everything up. We can blame our government, we can blame left, right, blue, red, whatever, but when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, we let ourselves down. And people don't like hearing that they're the problem.
Of course not.
Nobody likes to look at the man in the mirror.
But that's the only person that you have to blame.
That's right.
If your life is terrible, it's not an immigrant's fault. It's not, a minority's fault. It's not the government's fault. Well, the government might be a little to blame, but mostly it is yourself and the choices that you make every day. If you're struggling financially, maybe you shouldn't have taken out a loan to buy that $150,000 car. If you're struggling, to find work, maybe you need to broaden your horizons. Although that right now that that's a twofold problem. But the point is a lot of the problems that we have in our lives, and a lot of the problems that we have in our society, are our own making and our own doing, by the way we vote, by the things that we buy, by what we give our attention to. And when we
Amen.
decide that we're ready for true change is when everything will change, but it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to learn to go without those Big Macs. You're going to have to learn to go without that expensive bag, that big screen TV, that, lifted up yee truck that you want, right? Like you're going to have to learn to live without a lot of creature comforts in order to flip things to how we need them to be.
Yeah. You have to make choices and you have to agree to yourself that you're going to accept the consequences of those choices.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah, because right now we're blaming everybody else for the consequences of our own actions.
and there's an old adage that goes, the change begins with me.
Absolutely.
And ladies and gentlemen, again, I go back to Chris's book, Right This Way. Some of these very things pop up in the book.
Yeah, it was very intentional. I was doing my best not to be heavy-handed about it, but I wanted those elements there. I wanted you to have to think. There's a scene where, so with Artemis being genderless, that puts them in the LGBTQ community. And Artemis was the single most terrifying character to have to write because I didn't want to get it wrong. Being that they were gender neutral, I wanted to do them justice. I can write a man, I can kind of write a woman. But writing a person who lives the in-between, right? They're fluid. I reached out to a lot of my LGBTQ friends and gave them a few chapters with Artemis, laying everything out, and then gave them the character design and everything. And I sat there biting my nails for 72 hours until the ping started coming in and said, "You did remarkably well." As a straight man writing a gender neutral or gender fluid character, you did amazing. We sign off on this. And there's a chapter in there where Artemis actually falls in love with an African American woman. And they come to the carnival to hunt them down. And that scene was one of the ones that I handed off and to others to read. And they said that they felt the fear, they felt the worry, they felt the impending doom. They felt what it was actually like to be in that situation because they had been in that situation themselves in some fashion. So yeah, Artemis was the scariest character for me to write just because it was so much foreign territory for me just in one of the biggest core aspects of the character.
And the thing with Artemis is
They
have such deeply embedded emotions that once in a while will pop out and then it goes back in. It's like they're afraid to let any emotion out for fear of being hurt, being rejected, being destroyed. But every once in a while, it'll pop out.
Well, Artemis behaves in a way a muse never should.
Yeah.
Right? A muse's only function is to inspire man. They do not have their own feelings. They do not have their own thoughts. They do not have their own whatever. They are simply there to serve as the creative force for man. So having a muse that is tired of that and is throwing off the norms is in itself an amazing feat. And I wanted Artemis to be able to have that, but also have to pay the consequences for it. But the consequences end up becoming a redemption eventually.
You see why I love those characters? Because they're real. They're not just characters in a book. And you will, as you read this book, you will find yourself as one of those characters if you read it in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Open mind.
Yeah.
Read it with an open mind. Mary, I know you got questions.
Mary is not questioning today. Not too much yet.
Mary's listening. Mary's having a rough day.
It's the voice, isn't it? I get that all the time.
No, it's my heart.
Mary's husband works for NASA up here at the Cape, and they're getting ready to send some of our astronauts to the moon again. And he's working all these
Oddly enough, named Artemis.
yeah, exactly. And he's working odd shifts. Now he's working a swing shift. Well, it's throwing Mary's sleep patterns off and her routine off, and she's still trying to recover from her heart attack. So she's had a rough couple of weeks, especially a rough couple of days. So I'm just glad she's here.
This past week's been hard on me. But I'm enjoying the conversation, but I don't have a lot of questions other than how long had you worked on this book?
See, I technically wrote A Good and Just Man and Right This Way in tandem. And I believe I wrote A Good and Just Man during COVID.
Okay.
But I had the pieces for Right This Way laid out. So basically, A Good and Just Man had been floating around in my head for years. And I started writing it out, and I was like, okay, I really do want this to be a short story. I really don't feel that if we turn this into a longer thing, that the impact of it will be there. So I wrote the short story, but the character of Levi was one that I really enjoyed. And I was like, okay, what can I do with Levi after this? And I've always enjoyed things like Dead Like Me and Something Wicked This Way Comes, and like the whole supernatural elements in general. And I was like, well, what if Levi ends up finding a new reaper, but instead of a scythe, he has a carnival? Let's set it in the era of the World's Fair, where traveling sideshows and traveling circuses and traveling carnivals became a big thing because they saw what the World's Fair did, and every snake oil salesman, huckster, and shyster around wanted to try to capitalize on that. Let's create a snake oil salesman who can't make it and ends up running into Levi and being made a deal he can't refuse. And from there, it was, a lot of writing and rewriting and like figuring out the tone and like how I really wanted each character to be perceived, and what the overall big bad was going to be, and how far we were going to go into depth on what Levi and the architects and everything else were. And I knew I wanted to include cryptids in some way, and when I came upon the idea of the character of Artemis, that's when the Cryptid Council idea came to be. It was like, okay, well, I have a muse that is breaking the rules. Who's going to enforce those rules? Who's the person that Artemis is going to have to pay the consequences to? That's where the Cryptid Council came in, where it's
the muse's answer to.
Yep.
I got a question for you, Yvonne.
Yes,
How many of your writers have told you, I've had this story on my computer for years?
I can't count.
I didn't even have it in my computer. It was all up here.
But your brain's a computer. So, okay, CRU.
It's a poorly put together one.
CRU, Sherry Ann, Gwendolyn, Ellie Ryan, Kara Benson, who's still working on hers, Aaron. That's 7
I think that's a common trait among authors, is, and listening to you, Chris, it's like almost like hearing myself with my books. We agonize over them. We hold on to them. We want to perfect them. We want to make them just a little better. But there is a fine, I guess skill is the word I'm looking for, or inner knowing when enough is enough. I think it takes a very skillful writer to be able to say, I could expand this book and make it a novel, but then people are going to know that I just padded it.
Yeah.
You have to know when enough is enough.
And how many times can you describe a blade of grass?
Stephen King.
Exactly.
I love Stephen King, don't get me wrong, and this is the dumbest thing to say about an author, but that man is too wordy.
I've said it for years.
I do not need 3 pages to describe a table leg. Knock it off.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
Yeah.
I get it. You want us to know how intricately designed that table leg is, though. But let me get to the rest of the story.
Yeah, no.
Just say the table leg was carved with precision or something.
Yeah. No.
Move on. There's so much. There's only so much description that anybody wants to read.
Right, and you got to ask yourself: are you providing a book for them to read for entertainment or punishment? Which is it?
Good point.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, are you a form of torture that is approved by the Geneva Convention, or are you an author?
King.
This is so true in the industry. Sometimes, most times, less is more. I said this either yesterday or today on the live. Many, many years ago, when I took a journalism class, and Mary will probably back me up on this, we were told most people read on an 8th grade level. Now, this was years ago.
Yeah, it's 7th grade now.
It's 7th grade now. So they don't want a $50 word to describe a $2 incident. They don't want to have to take time to go get the dictionary. It's called the KISS method. Same thing in writing books. I've read War and Peace. I've read Dr. Zhivago. I've read encyclopedias and dictionaries for fun. But that doesn't mean that I want to put something like that out there for the masses, because I don't want to lose them before they ever start reading the book. The only book that I ever read by Stephen King that I absolutely loved was Pet Sematary.
Dreamcatcher.
I didn't read Dreamcatcher. It was not wordy. It was heart-wrenching. It was in your face. It kept me turning the pages, but it didn't take me 16 days and 12 lunches to read it.
I'm pretty sure the excessive wordy ones, like, he's gotten better over the years. It's not as bad as it used to be. But I'm pretty sure that the excessively wordy ones were the cocaine-fueled days.
That's a good point. Very good point.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I can write 700 pages about a room in 30 minutes, right?
If I'm fueled.
The power of Coke compels me.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we do what we do. To keep the reader engaged, you have to write in a way that they want to be engaged.
Now, Write This Way is written at a collegiate level, and that's because that's how I think, that's how I typically speak, that's how I typically write.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, well, it's not even necessarily my demographic. It's just, I don't know how to dumb myself down for people.
Nor should you ever.
However, in writing and in the collegiate level that you write in, you also don't write over everyone else's head either.
No.
You understand that happy medium of being entertaining, informative, and keeping that person in that story, not just turning the page.
Well, I never went to college, so I wasn't able to make it my whole personality.
There you go. Yeah, some of the smartest people I know are some of the dumbest people I know.
I have a PhD. Well, that's great. Did it come with any common sense or a set
There
of
you,
manners? No.
yeah. I say this with love about my sister who is no longer with us. She's one of the smartest women I knew and one of the dumbest people I knew. No
Yeah.
common sense at all.
I may not have gotten higher education, right? But I'll take my street smarts and my book smarts that got blended together and say that I'm probably on good standing with most of those people walking around with doctorates.
There you go.
You don't want me, fixing your internal organs or anything like that.
Like I said the other day, you don't want a welder in the operating room. He's good at
No.
welding, but not good at replacing stents and valves and hearts.
Right? But like, I don't know. So I've been accused of thinking that I'm better than everyone else because of the way I speak, because of the way I write, because of the way I think, when I convey my internal thoughts. And what I've tried to get across is I don't think I'm better than anybody. And I don't think anyone's better than anyone. Uh, that's not necessarily true. There's a few people out there I'm better than, but the point that I'm getting at is that I speak with intention. If you notice, I pause, and that's because my brain runs at 3,000 miles per minute. And if I don't slow down, I sound like Stephen King from the 70s.
Yvonne and I had a conversation just before you joined the show. I just finished reading her book, Dreamcatcher, Failure is Not an Option, about her brother, because I'm in the process of creating Stanleyisms, these little gems that he said or things people would notice about him. And I told her that today I have to be mindful because apparently my lungs and my heart are at odds with each other. And my brain is
Sorry.
over here doing its own thing. So I have to be very careful to take a moment to breathe because I get excited when I'm talking with other authors. I get really excited when I'm discussing books and publishing. And when I get excited, I talk louder and I talk faster. And I told her, I said, I sound just like Stanley must have sounded when he would get excited and couldn't formulate his words and his sentences his family said that he was speaking a foreign language. He wasn't. He was just, the words just came out faster than their minds could keep up with.
Well, like I said,
And I tend to do that and I think this is one of the reasons I had the heart attack. We talked earlier about lessons and life lessons and, opportunities that we get. I am not happy I had a heart attack, but I feel that it has been teaching me so many things that I am too damned stubborn to learn on my own. And one of those is I don't have to rush from point A to point B. I don't have to hurry to do everything at once.
I'm in a hurry to get things done. Oh, I
Yeah,
rush
baby.
and rush until life's no fun.
But I've really had to slow myself down. And on days like this, when Yvonne says, well, I know you've got questions, I'm like, wait a minute.
Do I?
Somebody's talking to me.
Oh, wait. Oh, squirrel. I see the squirrel.
Oh, I am the biggest golden retriever there is.
So I've always equated to having ADHD like having a brain that is essentially an overclocked computer. I do not believe that ADHD is a disability or
It's a
an
gift.
illness. I believe it is an evolutionary jump. We process information faster. We can retain certain information as long as we are truly focused on it. And some of us can multitask like nobody's business. Like, my brain already has 100 tabs open. 30 of them are frozen. 20 of them are, still loading. And I have no idea where the music's coming from. However, I can still process information at a rate that most people can't. And I think that was the biggest issue for me in school is I was faster than everybody else. I thought faster. And I got bored quicker because I was already done by the time the rest of the class caught up. And so I got myself into trouble a lot. And even as an adult, I when I am working, I've been doing side gigs and stuff like that. I'll be working in one screen. I'll have Discord and a TV show up in another. I'll be texting and working and chatting and watching TV. And if I remove one of those things, it all falls down. I have to have multiple inputs of stimuli going for my brain to function properly.
You thrive in the chaos.
I do, yeah.
He never lets a good crisis go to waste.
Nope. Nope. And if I can't find one, I'll manufacture one.
That's an old political saying, never let a good crisis go to waste. And this is one of the reasons that I love Chris.
It's also why I'm twice divorced.
This is why I love Chris the way I do. Because I get him. My children, my grandchildren are all beautifully gifted with ADHD or ADD. And to watch them in action is like watching a movie every day. And sometimes my grandson will call me and he'll go on in and I'll say, Jesse, honey, come back to Grandma, come back to Nana, let's focus. We're not going to put this on stop, rewind, and replay. Say what you got to say, let's go on to something else. But he is so gifted as an artist. The boy he's a tat artist. He's amazing. So watching Chris do what Chris does and being on his shows multiple times, it's an exercise in let's see how much we can explode our brain.
Yeah, it is very much strap yourself in and try to hold on.
The ride's going to get bumpy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're one of the things is like people would tell me is like it's so hard to come into your show halfway through because or even step away for just 5 minutes to take care of something because you cover so much ground in 10 minutes that when I come back I'm like, where were we? What are we talking about? I'm like, yeah, dude, that's the intent. I don't want you to go get popcorn. I don't want you to surf your phone. I want you locked in. And if you miss something, that's on you, not me. And they're like, well, could you slow down a little bit? I was like, why don't you tell a rose to be less red?
Exactly. Or not to bloom.
Yeah.
Because this is what makes him so great at what he does.
Terrible at relationships. Great at what I do.
Well, because you haven't met the right person that understands the uniqueness of you.
No, I think what it is that the same reason that people fall in love with me is the same reason they end up growing to not like me anymore. I seem shiny and unique and new until you have to deal with it on a daily basis. And then once you have to deal with it on a daily basis, you're like, shit.
Too much light work.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why my son's been married 5 times. He's shiny and new and pretty and he puts up a good front, but then the day-to-day is hard.
Well, this is why when Jack died and I had some of my male friends say, we're going to hook you up, I look at him and I say, excuse me, what do you mean? Well, we're going to find you a man. You need a man. I said, okay, first of all, you have to ask them 2 questions. The main one is, can they afford me? And the second one is, can they put up with me? Because if the answer to either one of those questions is no, then they need to just move on. Because
yeah, and if I heard that first question, I would already be moving on. It's not that I couldn't, I just wouldn't want to. Like, afford yourself. You're a strong, independent woman that doesn't need a man. You just want one.
And see, and I don't even want one, so there we go.
Yeah, I am not the first bank of Chris. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
You know,
But the thing is, what we as human beings fail to do is we want people to accept us where we are in our lives, flaws and all, and just accept us. But then on the other hand, we want people in our lives that we can change because we don't want to accept them
I
where
don't
no,
have time for that.
I am. This is not IKEA. This is not the Build a Bitch workshop. I'm not looking to change anyone. I just want someone to come into my life that is going to bring me peace at this point.
and
I don't want problems. I'm too old for problems.
amen. But this is what I'm saying, Chris. When, as humans, most of us look at someone and go, "Oh, yeah, they wind my clock," until you start peeling back the layers, and then the little things that were so exciting, like you say, soon become very irritating because we don't understand that if we're in a relationship, it's for the long haul. And when you let those little irritating things build up, it destroys whatever relationship you had. And part of that it all falls back from within yourself because you haven't looked from within yourself to see the little things that irritate yourself.
No, I like me. I've gotten to a point where I actually like me. There isn't too much about me that irritates me. I wish I wouldn't procrastinate as much, but stuff still gets done eventually.
And this is why I say you have to learn to like and love yourself before you can even love or like somebody else. It's impossible. So when Chris says that in his relationships that they see the new shiny things and, oh, this is exciting, and oh yeah, this is wonderful, and then all of a sudden it becomes a source of irritation, you didn't dig deep enough. There was something within yourself that you didn't like at all.
I find myself anytime a new person, presents themselves in my life and, we get talking and whatnot, I find myself be like, man, you sure are pretty. How crazy are you?
Oh, yes.
Right?
Certification letter.
Right? I need to know, like, what brand of crazy are you? Right? Because, like, I'm cool with some crazy. That's what makes it fun and interesting. But I really do need to know the brand of crazy so that I know whether or not I'm, a licensed dealer for that crazy. Right? Because you might be,
How
a
deep does the
Fiat.
crazy go?
Right? But I'm only certified to work on domestic crazy, and you're foreign crazy, right? Like it's and like I am my own bag of crazy. I understand.
So
Like
am
I
I.
I have no filter. If I think it, I'm going to say it. I tend, as much as I don't want to offend people, I have a very dark and twisted sense of humor, and if it's funny, it's funny.
And
Like and
this is why I love him. Chris and I go way back. When we would do his shows, he would say, "Now, Yvonne, I don't want to offend you, honey. Have you met me?" Then he would say, "Well, we would debate, and our conversations were not arguments. They were debates. They were conversations." And one of us would finally say, "Well, now we will agree to disagree and move on to something else." But
yeah, Yvonne and I stand on opposite sides of the aisle on a lot of different things. The difference ends up being is we're both mature enough to realize that you have every right to be wrong, just like I have every right to be wrong.
and we love each other because of it, not in spite of it. And I can't say that about too many people that have been in and out of my life. This is why our friendship has lasted as long as it has lasted. And I love you for it.
And I'm just getting older and older, and I care, but I don't care anymore, right? Like I'm looking forward to the point where I can be sitting on my porch yelling at kids to get off my lawn. Right? Like I'm 43 years old. I think I've got another 20 years before I can safely start sitting on my porch and yelling at kids. But I'm looking forward to it.
Every day. So I'm going to bring up something, and feel free to say yes or no, but I'm going to kind of put you on the spot.
Or
Yeah. I know that you are looking or are doing side jobs. So let me just throw this out there. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that Chris has done voiceovers for ads, and there is a stipend in that. So I'm putting it out there, and he can feel free to say, Yvonne, take a hike. I'm not going to do it. But if there is someone out there who wants a voiceover, wants an ad, and is willing to pay him for it, contact either him or me, and y'all work it out. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, I would never tell you to take a hike over that. Fuck that. Pay me. Please. My landlord doesn't take IOUs or excuses. So, yeah.
And there is an ad on our YouTube channel that is about the pink canary that Chris did. And it's my favorite ad.
My favorite one is the Hatter.
The Mad Hatter. Yes, you also did that one.
That's my favorite one.
Chris
Well,
has
I
been,
have a question for you, Chris.
I've got answers.
I bet you do.
They may not be good ones.
Well, I always tell my husband I have an answer, whether or not it's the one he wants, who knows. Why don't you do your own audiobook?
Feels too egotistical to do your own audiobook.
Really?
Yep.
What's ego got to do with it?
I don't put my products out for my own self, what's the word I'm looking for? Gratification. And Yvonne can tell you everything that I did with... Who had a pig?
that's it. Mary's.
Huh? Yeah, it's a pig.
Curtis just walked in, and that's my way to say hello to him. I told him I'd be in the middle of my podcast when he came home today.
Everything that I've done has never been about my own profitability or my own gain. Have always been about trying to lift others up and help others and network to give others an opportunity. I would much rather have someone else read my book and make a couple of bucks and get that credit under their belt for their reel than to be selfish and take it for myself.
So,
Okay. So would you consider hiring yourself out to read other people's books?
Yes. That, yes. My own, no.
Need to hook you up with my son then,
yes.
because he's as adamant as you are against AI.
Look,
voices.
I'm super, progressive as a male, but I still like women. She said, hook me up with her son.
See, that just
He's
went
an
right.
author.
It just went right. He's being a smart ass.
I know. That's why I'd love to hook the two of them up. They,
With a couple of trains, just...
they could braid each other's beards. No,
Nuh-uh.
he,
No, nobody
he
touches my
does
beard.
not want AI to be his audible. And he's also looking to pay somebody to do it. So, Yvonne, I'd appreciate later on you get me the information for Chris that I can get to Aaron so I can introduce them and see if they can work something out.
Yeah, I'm a broke bitch right now. I can't pay anybody anything. I can't even pay attention right now. I'm struggling. I got a couple of
I don't
things.
know where his money is
Yeah.
at this point either.
I got a
was
couple of
talking
things on the
about-
horizon that look promising, but it's been rough. I lost my job back in November due to a mixture of AI and downsizing the American workforce to hire overseas people. Which, look, more power to them and everything. It's the company that's at fault there, not the other workers.
Right.
So the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, what we're trying to do is help Chris out. So you're friends with Chris, right, Mary?
On Facebook, yeah, I think I am.
So y'all just
I'll
swap
make the
emails.
connection that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just swap emails. And So if you're in the market to have your book done audibly, and you're not friends with Chris Dunham on Facebook, look him up. It's under Christopher Dunham. And let's see if we can help him out.
I think I'm using my face
You are.
as a profile picture on.
You are.
I change it frequently. It's rare that you actually see my face. I don't know why I did, but it's there.
It's a thing.
You know, if you want a fairly straight read, I'm totally down for that. Voices and stuff like that get a little tricky because you have an idea in your head of how it should sound, and there's only so much that I can actually do with my voice. However, there are a few things that I can do, and we can always talk from there. But a straight read, I think, would be the best route if you are going to hire me. I have worked multiple customer service jobs, and I have had women and men alike consistently hit on me just because of the bass and baritone of my voice. It's really hard to be sitting there doing your job and having a woman in her 70s just continually hitting on you and getting more and more graphic about it as the thing goes on. You're sitting there doing your job like, I need an adult. And then the voice in your head is like, you're 43. I need an adultier adult. I'm in danger. Help.
Stranger danger on a whole new level.
Right?
You know, I worked with Dar J-Jo the other day on the newest book, the In the Box book or Out of the
Right.
Box, whatever.
Boxed in.
Boxed in. I was helping her figure out what was missing. And so we were discussing, I was just reading it. She goes, "Oh my God, Mary, you should read for Audible. You've got such a good reader's voice." I'm like, I have no breath. I cannot do that. I do not have a studio. Just like, my husband walks in the door, I squeeze the pig. That we have pigs everywhere, Chris. They're
You live in a police state?
My little piggy. They're better than ringing a bell, when you're sick. Squeeze the pig and he comes a running. But we literally have them everywhere in our house. It's a thing. But I never know with his schedule if he's going to walk in the door or not. And I couldn't do voiceovers for that reason.
It's just me and my brother and my cat here. So unless
You
we're
must
doing
not have an
laundry,
orange tabby.
I have a black cat who is.
Quiet.
I think he identifies as an orange tabby.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's fine for the most part, unless he desperately wants attention, desperately wants food, or desperately wants to ruin whatever I'm doing.
I haven't heard him yet today.
I think he's asleep. His belly is full. He was given attention this morning, and apparently he does not feel like being a tiny terrorist.
Okay. Well, I know Lenny from time to time will interrupt our show.
He's
And Yvonne will
afraid.
just have to remind him it's time to be quiet. I'm not dealing with you right now.
He is asleep. He is not snoring. And like Chris's cat, his tummy is full. It's his nap time. And he's under the desk. So he's close. He's happy.
Yeah,
They're just
he's had his breakfast, he's had his treats, and he's asleep on my bed right now.
So there you go.
That
Are
works.
you, Chris, are you ever going to get your show back up and running?
Probably not.
No?
It's running
No.
its course.
No, yeah, I've hit the point where it's not giving me back what I'm putting into it. That's what it came down to. And with the way things have gone and the things that I choose to talk about, I don't want the added headache. I don't want someone getting so offended that they want to send people to my door or anything like that. And you're not going to change people's minds. People aren't going to change their mindset until it affects them. And even then they may not. Until it's on their door, until the boots that they lick are kicking in their front door, they're not going to say boo about it. And it's not worth it. I can provide the information. There's a few people out there that have gained a lot from what I did. I educated people on a lot of different things. But it's not worth it anymore. I'll do stuff like this. Like, I've got a couple of different podcasts that will pull me in on occasion when they want intelligent comic relief. But doing my own thing again, it's the juice isn't worth the squeeze at this point.
But you would come back on this show to talk about the next book that you're going to send me, right?
No, yeah.
You know what we could do, Mary, if he is up to it, we could even maybe occasionally do a podcast and do a book review on something you've read.
Maybe.
So,
I tend to stick with a lot of the books that I've read before that I just enjoy going back and reading.
that's okay.
And I honestly, I don't know about you two, but as I've gotten older, it's getting harder and harder to actually read a book. I have to do audio books at this point. I get like 2 or 3 chapters in and I'm nodding off in the chair. And I don't know why.
Well, it's like I have talked about before. Many of the books that are out there now in mainstream are regurgitation of books they've written before. It's a different setting, same characters, different names, same plot, just regurgitated. And you do nod off because there's nothing to keep you engaged in the book. You're just turning the pages.
Well, to be fair, there's only 13 story types.
That is true. There are only 13 story types. However, there's nothing that says that you can't create one of those 13 story types into something that is engaging.
And I'm going to tell anyone watching this right now, you may love the way I write. Understand, never going to write a love scene. Never going to write smut. It's weird. I don't knock it for the people who enjoy it and enjoy reading it and can write it. That's not me. Like, I am much more adept for the old 80s, like, TV where you pan away to the windows and the curtains blowing. Like, that's the tantamount to, like, a love scene.
Yes.
Like, you can infer whatever happens.
You don't need to write a how-to manual.
No.
You already know how to do it.
And if
I don't even like writing romance. Like, it's just
I don't write romance. And ladies and gentlemen, while we're on this subject, we will not publish erotica. We will not. Because there's no excuse for it.
Aaron was so worried about how you were going to respond to his character Nason.
Oh, I love her.
I know you would. I told Curtis, I said, she reminds me of so many powerful women. And my son's character she's a very sensual person. She loves to fight, she loves to fuck, and she loves to eat.
Not necessarily in that order.
No, but she loves to talk about all 3 of them.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if she's not doing it, she wants to talk about it. But never once did he have a graphic scene. And so he was so worried that Yvonne was going to not publish his book because of her. And then he goes, wait a minute. She published your book about sex addiction, didn't she? I said, yes, she did. Because also, like your book, it's not graphic.
Exactly.
You can talk about anything, and you can do it in polite company.
I would like to say that I don't agree with Yvonne saying that there's no excuse for it. There may be no excuse for it, but there is an explanation for it. Predominantly, women are the readers. There are men that read, but predominantly,
I agree.
women are readers, right? Men are visual. We want to see it. We like TV shows. We like movies. We want to see it. Women, on the other hand, they don't need to see it. They need to see it here. So erotica, the explanation for it is because it's tapping into who the readers are. Everything has a place for the most part, unless you're writing some really weird stuff. Like I've seen some Amazon books that I don't think need to be in existence, but that's neither here nor there. However, if erotica is done right and done well, there is a place for it. It may not necessarily be with Midnight Publishing, because it may be a hard line that you guys have driven or drawn that you don't want to, associate with. Plus, I'm sure there's things with Amazon too that, start to get a little hinky on how it has to be presented and whatnot. But I wouldn't say that there's no excuse for it, just because I do know that predominantly women are readers and men are visual. So yeah, it's no big surprise to me that book talk exists and that the smut community is predominantly filled with, women, female fans and stuff like that, because it's just how they're wired. You can talk dirty to your partner if they're a woman, and it go way further than sending, an eggplant pic, right? Whereas if you try to talk dirty to a man, yeah, he'll think it's kind of cool, but them nudes is going to get you where you want to be. So it's just understanding your audience at that point.
And I have to agree with him on that. I fully agree with him. But yeah, we have drawn a hard line with that. And Erin's character, she's a classy character. And she leaves a lot to the imagination.
Yes.
So he has no worries. And ladies and gentlemen, since it is now 10 minutes till 12 and I have to go bowl at 12, we are going to close this show with our topic of smut and other oddities. And
how much Stephen King loves to write description.
Absolutely.
Do you know there's a thing called the bowling theory too?
I'm afraid to ask.
It's only for men. Women are excluded for this.
We will save that for another day.
Sounds like the Big Lebowski.
No. If a man is good at bowling, he's usually bad in bed. If he's bad at bowling, he's usually good in bed.
Well, there you go. That's a food for thought for the next show.
I think I can discount that theory.
You may have one note, you may have one point, but that does not discount the whole theory. Women, test your men. Take them bowling.
There are always exceptions to every rule.
Yeah, take your men bowling. Go on a date. Go bowling with them. See how he stacks up.
I married a good bowler, and that's all I'm going to say about it.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
I'm happy with him.
Right This Way is out. It is on Kindle, it is in hardback, and it is in paperback. And it is an amazing book.
If you buy it and read it, please review it.
Please review it.
That's really what I want, is just review it on Amazon. Let others know what you thought of it.
Absolutely.
Reviews
And
are so important.
The folks that you had to read it, have them send you their thoughts, and we'll use it as a review for promos.
I think everybody's still
kind of
trying
where
to get through
I take
it.
all these reviews and I turn them into posts.
So yeah, send everything you've got to me or to Mary, and we'll use this as marketing. That's what we do here.
Well, the big thing that I've heard from most of the readers is I'm having to go back and reread things because I feel like I'm missing things along the way. That's
because they don't get in the book. They just turn the page. You need to get in the book, and maybe now they will. And what I'm going to do is I will tag you. When I put this show up on the Midnight Publishing page, I will tag you so it will come to your page as well. So I want to thank you, my dear friend. I absolutely adore you. Thank you for being my friend, for the honor and the pleasure. Thank you for trusting us and for sending us your book.
Again, like I said, I didn't come into it with high expectations, and that's nothing against Midnight Publishing. It's just me. Like I've hit the point where I'm no longer making plans for the future. Plans are great for, the serotonin or whatever to, the happy chemicals and stuff like that. But realistically, plans always end up falling through for me. So I'm just riding the wave and doing what each day brings.
There you go. I want to bring you back because we have so much fun. Always have. I've missed you. And
You need to learn better aim then. You used to be a bounty hunter. How can you miss something this big?
So, ladies and gentlemen, friend him on Facebook under Christopher Dunham. If you have a voiceover you need done, contact him. Y'all work it out. I'm just the middleman here. Mary, go get some rest. The next month we will have a workshop. Next Wednesday, author Carol Bellavance will be here. So until then, I want you all to have the day you deserve.
It sounds like a threat. I use that in customer service when people are mean to me.
It's definitely a veiled threat.
Take it any way you want it. Also, I want people to be as kind to you as you are to them.
That's never going to happen.
And finally, but certainly not least, before you can love yourself, you cannot love anyone else. So with that, I love you both. Thank you. It has been a wonderful, wonderful show.
Yep.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Chris, I will get you and my son connected and leave the rest up to you if you can read his book. If it's what he wants, maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Everything happens in due time. Love you both.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Till next time. Bye.